The last step in this whole process is putting everything together into an actual video. This is the part I call animation. You already have the graphics and the audio recorded, and now it's time to put everything together into a video editor. The bad news is this can be a bit tedious. It requires a lot of repetitive tasks, and it isn't particularly quick. I usually listen to an audiobook or podcast while doing it. The good news is that it can be as simple or complex as you want it to be. You don't need to go overboard with animations to make it look good. Just transitioning between scenes and doing basic movements around the screen goes a long way. In fact, if you wanted to, you could even use the built-in animation features of Keynote or PowerPoint and just record your screen as you go through the slideshow. But if you feel up for it, and I recommend it, use a program like iMovie, Final Cut Pro, Adobe Premiere, or After Effects. If you're intimidated by this stage of the process, keep it simple. Use something like iMovie. But if you are up for it, go straight for After Effects. It's truly the most powerful program for this purpose. There are lots of great After Effects tutorials out there, but for this course, we're going to keep it simple. I'll use the little app called ScreenFlow. It isn't really made for this purpose, but its simplicity will make it really easy to demonstrate the general techniques. Believe it or not, this is the program I use a lot. Again, After Effects is a better choice, but it isn't necessary. As I'll show here, animation is more about how you do it than with what software. So for each scene, we'll open up the Affinity Designer document and select each object we want animated together. For example, we want to make this helicopter fly independent from the clouds, so we'll select each one, the helicopter, and then separately the clouds, and then File, Export. We'll give each a name and put them in the images folder we created earlier. After we've exported every object in this scene, we can switch to our video editor. In ScreenFlow, or whatever editor you choose, we'll create a new document of size 1920 by 1080, and then we'll go into the Media tab up here. Here we can import all the images we just exported. This box shows a preview of our video, and the sidebar here is for importing files and editing their properties, like size, rotation, and transparency. The bottom is the timeline. We drag our images and sounds onto it to tell the program when they should be on the screen and for how long. There are multiple levels to add things here on the timeline because we need more than one image on screen at a time, so we stack them on top of each other on the timeline, according to which ones go on top visually. And of course, you'll want to use this feature in the bottom left to zoom in and out of the timeline. As you can see, this scene is all set up. Now we just need to make everything move. To do that, we use what's called a keyframe. This red line is the playhead, showing where we currently are in the video. You can move it to where you want the animation to be, and then add the keyframe. In ScreenFlow, you can do this by either clicking Action, Add Video Action, or use the keyboard shortcut Command-K. A keyframe is basically just a transition between 2 points in time, so you can set the properties like size, location, or rotation at the beginning, change them at the end, and the editor will create a smooth animation between them. That's essentially all there is to it, creating a before and an after, each with their own settings. The editor will take care of the transitioning between the two states, and that's what makes the smooth looking animation. We want this helicopter to fly in from the side, so we'll move our playhead to before the keyframe and drag our helicopter off the screen, since that's where it should start before the animation happens. Now we can switch from the Media tab to the Properties tab, so we can change its rotation too. Then we'll move to the end of the keyframe and move the helicopter again, where we want it to end up. Now we can watch it fly, and change how smooth the animation is by right-clicking on the keyframe. Maybe we want to transition after this scene, so let's add our background to the timeline and add a keyframe to it. If we want it to just grow until it covers the whole screen, we can go to the beginning of the keyframe and set its initial size to 0%. Finally, we can add our voiceover, music, and sound effects to the timeline the same way as we would images. Repeat this for each scene and you have a video. When you're done, you can export the whole video as whatever file you wish and upload it straight to YouTube. In the next and final video, we'll wrap everything up with a complete walkthrough from start to finish and a summary of what we've learned.